jail by yourself. Okay, but you got a whole team on the street, so you can only play but so far. You'll be on the phone breaking everything down, come up with a plan, and then 2 weeks later, that person's fired. That person's fired. That person's fired. He's a CEO, so I'm thinking, he knows about what's going on and stuff like that. But the day I gave him the phone call, he was like, "What are you talking about?" People really didn't even understand what they were signing up for, and there was a bunch of 6 and 7 figure earners in these courses.
Hey, what's up, guys? Econ bullies out there. It's Econ Bulldog back to the channel. Appreciate you guys. Today I got a special guest for you guys, Brandon Gardner. If you guys don't know who this guy is, definitely got to tap in with him. He's known on Instagram as Black Jew. We're gonna go and dive in a little bit about his history. He wrote a book, How to Legally Rob the Bank, or How to Rob the Bank Legally. So tap in for that. We're gonna do a Q&A, hard Q&A. And we're going to first start how me and him kind of connected with each other, or how do we end up in the same room, or how do we get scammed by the same person. So real quick, first of all, Black Jew, thank you for being on the channel and providing some heavy sauce that I know you've been around the ropes, got many years in experience from all angles, and I feel it's good to be whole, right? Get a little piece of this. You got a little bit of street knowledge, a little bit of real estate, a little bit of everything, family. So look forward to having you on. And definitely, without further ado, first of all, yeah, can you tell them how we got in the same room, or how you saw me for the first time? So we can.
Well, I think the first time we actually ever met was in San Diego, at one of Mike Barron and Van Taylor's scam sessions.
Oh yeah, okay. Damn, okay. That was about like last year, or was it
Now, it was longer
2022?
than that. It was May of 2022.
Oh damn, okay. So yeah, we connected at the scam session with Mike Barron, and for you
Well,
guys,
we didn't know it was a scam. We actually thought that he was building out 8-figure funnels and teaching people and implementing that. So that's what everybody was under the guise and impression of, that we were being flown out to San Diego and being put up in villas and having exclusive dinners. And we ended up having to pay for our own hotels, own flights. And I think they provided Papa John's pizza or something like that. I ended up having to get my own food.
hey, real quick, I know on my channel I haven't really talked about that, but I got to give a shout out to Black Jew, because he was the one to really open it up. Because a lot of people were kind of like drinking the Kool-Aid, if you want to say, because we were invested so heavily that we didn't want to believe this was a scam. Because my right-hand man, Brandon, he kept telling me, "Nah, bro, this is a little too funny." And I was just like, "Damn, Brandon, you gotta believe, bro. You gotta believe." Because I was so heavily invested, I had no choice but to rock it out. But Black Jew was the one to point it out. I think it was in a group chat, to kind of open it up, to kind of like, "Hey, man, what? It kind of makes sense what he's doing. Predator lending. It was all these things, guys, and it woke me up. It woke me up to what's really out there. And there's definitely some heavy scammers. And for you guys don't know, that's what kind of led me to drop Amazon and go straight to credit, because Mike Barron kind of promised me Disneyland, and gave me Chuck E. Cheese. So
It was beyond Chuck E. Cheese. I think I just had a little bit more experience with course building, because I had helped someone else build a course before. Like, I was actually, let me not say help them. I was in the process and going through the struggles of them building a course with an actual real course creator. So I understood what was supposed to be in courses and what wasn't supposed to be in courses. And I had went to ClickFunnels with Russell Brunson. So I understood how the funnels worked a little bit. Like, I was just getting into that realm as far as the funnel game, but I had seen courses created before. And I know how to copy a funnel and things of that nature. So when I start seeing those things, they were just like red flags. So I remember one of the key components was when we initially signed up. See, it was like I had already been in this before. I'm not going to put the other people involved or mention them because they were unwitting participants, their company, in what was going on. So how we initially got in that, we had signed up with a company, but they didn't even know that we had signed up with them. They're like vice president or something was doing something backdoor, and we ended up finding that later because I actually knew the CEO, but I never said nothing to him about it when we were speaking because he's a CEO, so I'm thinking he knows about what's going on and stuff like that. But the day I gave him the phone call, he was like, "What are you talking about?" And we just started breaking it down. So it started leading me to letting me know that they didn't know what they were doing was I know how long it takes to build a funnel. I know how many funnels there are. I know there's only 10 to 15 funnels that actually do major money. So when I remember I initially asked in the group chat, it was in like August. I'm like, okay, well, I know your Black Friday sale is supposed to be already in place. You're supposed to already have your stuff in place. So I kept asking, and everybody was ignoring me. So I actually had went and bought a course on Black Friday sale. So I put it in the chat. And then I ain't gonna mention her name because she's a good person, but she didn't know. So she had put in, I made this much money on Black Friday. So it kind of like irritated me because I'm like, you're telling people you made this money, which is dope. I want to see everybody make money and win, but they didn't teach you how to make that money. They all got $50,000 to teach you how to build an 8-figure business. These are the contracts. These were the guys, and that wasn't what was going on. And I understood that people really didn't even understand what they were signing up for. And there was a bunch of 6 and 7 figure earners in these courses, but they didn't understand. They were so convinced about the closer. But I'm like, how can you close something when you don't have a product, you don't have an upsell, you don't have a free offer? There's so many steps to get to the point. Your company doesn't need a closer unless you're closing $15,000 products or higher. So if these products haven't even been created and you don't have any digital products, you don't have any free offers, you don't have the Up Lead Nurture series to even get you to that point, what do you need a closer for?
Got you. And I know for me, right, I got sold pretty much on the whole, they're going to close deals for me. So you're right. Obviously, they were supposed to close deals for me. As we went on in the process, Mike and then what's his right, John, he was telling me, "Oh," I go, "Who's gonna start closing for me?" And he said, "Oh, don't worry, Brandon. I know your name's Brandon, but people might get confused. So my boy's name's Brandon. He'll close for you." And I'm like, "He'll close for me, but I'm paying for you guys to close for me." He goes, "Oh no, don't worry. We'll get him up to speed. We'll get him on the training. We'll give you a free $7,500 course regarding um closing." And I'm like, "Well, I paid for you guys to close." And that was one of the red flags that it kind of unveiled, because I'm purchasing something and they're like giving me like the 3-car Monty, right? You're purchasing something and they're sliding something from underneath, and I just kind of got dumbfounded, where I'm like, "Damn, dude, what the hell? Brandon don't know nothing about closing." And it kind of rocked our relationship a little bit, because I'm putting him like, "Don't worry, Brandon, we'll both close." And I'm just like, it was just to look back at it, sometimes it's like I did it because I saw the what do they call it? The shiny objects.
Yeah, you show the shiny object syndrome. I remember the day I told you, I'm like, yo, what are you doing? Remember, we were on the phone, we were on FaceTime, and I'm like, you don't have this. Where's your funnels? Where is this? And everybody's like, there, when we need closers. And I'm like, you don't need a closer until you get it. That's just like this. Moving into a mansion, right? You build a mansion with no foundation. That's what they were selling. So what allowed me to get a better grasp of the situation is I'm always looking to dissect the business. That comes from, previous business dealings, just being in the streets. So when we initially signed up, I got familiar with the people that were who we were working with. So I got cool with their head closer. and me and him built the friendship. So he's letting me know all the background information before we even get started. So then every time you got on the phone with a person, you start laying out your plan because we already knew what we were trying to do. We already had a business that was making substantial amount of money. We just didn't have the digital component pieces to really the ramp up. Like we were doing 6 figures a month and stuff like that, but we were trying to get bigger and we just didn't know had them pieces. Also in that process, I was talking to other developers and course creators and having layouts and understanding how this stuff actually works. So as it was getting explained to me, it was broken down. Every time they would put us on the phone with the next person that was supposed to do it. Remember, like every week, you would be on the phone breaking everything down, come up with a plan, and then 2 weeks later, that person's fired. That person's fired. That person's fired. So it's like we're month 3, month 4. You said you would have because we had all our stuff done already. Remember, we came in with a high level videographer who shoots a lot of the big influencers course. He shot our course already. So we already had all this stuff done. So it was like we don't have the same issues that a lot of other people had. People were in this thing that didn't even know what their product was, who their market was, who their client avatar was, who their target market was. So we were a little bit more advanced in the process to understand, hold on, it don't take us this long. It doesn't take these steps to be implemented that much. So it was just like, and then it would, but once you tell me you're going to invite me and we're going on a villa and we're going to be eating lobsters and you're flying me in and I got to pay for all this stuff. First of all, I don't need their money. I've been on villas. I do this stuff on a regular basis myself, not to brag. I'm just saying this is just what goes on. So it's like, once you tell me that and you don't provide that, I can't believe nothing you say. And your business model doesn't even make sense. And then you had to remember one of the guys in there, he was the guy's realtor. And he was telling us he just seen his whole financial profiles. So it was like, it wasn't there.
It was red flag after red flag after red flag.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. I mean, like I said, things happen for a reason. It connected us. And when I met you, I was like, damn, this guy, speaking facts and he's transparent. He's not sugarcoating nothing. He's straight up raw. Hey man, says it, called a spade, and that's what Black Jew was doing. So that's how we kind of, that's how we met officially. And then we're in the same group chat, with FICO and Black Jews. He I believe that he had launched a book, and I've been going back and forth regarding writing my book, and I was like, dude, Black Jew had put in his book in the chat, and I was like, oh shoot, let me copy it. I love the title, very eye catching, and I knew he was doing something with real estate, but didn't know exactly what he was doing. And then reading the book, reading a story, I was like, damn, that Black Jew got a unique story. Let me tap in with him. Let me have him on the channel so I can get Q&A, and then other people can see his past, right? Because everyone has a past. Everyone's got a story, right? You have to have the right message so people can connect with you and hopefully they learn from your story. So yeah, that's how that, and I want to give you a shout out because you're the reason why I wrote my book, right? You and Jessica, you guys had put out your book at the same time, and I was just like, damn, dude, I gotta stop messing around, bro. I gotta start getting this book out there. So I just started writing. I felt the writing part was the easy part. Putting it together was kind of more complex. And before we dive into the book, because I'm really interested in the questions I'm asking regarding the book and how we can give more value to our listeners, we're just gonna do a little quick Q&A regarding, a little background about you. So I know there's listeners watching, and first of all, Black Jew. You know what I mean? I know most people will be like, what's up with that? Viewers not knowing your story, where did that name come from? Like, hey, that's my Instagram name. What your actual Instagram name is?
Black Jew Wealth Coach.
Yeah, okay, Black Jew Wealth Coach. Perfect. All right. So what was the significance behind that? Or what was your story behind that?
So the story behind Black Jew Wealth Coach was it was just for monetary purposes. Like when you study different economic systems and stuff, that's what inspired that because I was just going back with trying to get a catchy name with something that was synonymous with finance.
Got
So that's how I think me and my cousin was sitting in the car and we were just going over names, trying to create something that it stuck out. It had meaning and semblance behind it in a few different words. It wasn't a religious based thing in no way, shape, or form. It was just strictly for financial education and how the discipline of that organization transpired with money. So that's how we broke that down, and that's how we came up with that.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay. Um, Another question is: you grew up. Where did you grow up in?
What world did I grow up in?
No, what state? What
I
city?
grew up in a few different places. I grew up in Philadelphia. I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia. I lived in California for a few times growing up. I lived in Connecticut. I lived in Canada for a short time when I was a kid. We moved around. Lived in a few different. I lived in the suburbs of Philadelphia. Um, I went to reformatory schools around the country. So I had a very diverse. I
Upbringing.
had a very diverse period growing up in life.
Got you. Got you. Cool. And that's I did read that in the book. So, what was your first taste of entrepreneurship? Besides,
Independently, or just first taste of entrepreneurship. Period.
as a kid, and maybe growing up, you know how they say
Well,
stories of entrepreneurs like selling candy at school or something like that.
so that's what I'm asking you. Like my personal first, or what I observed to make me want to do that.
Your personal first.
My personal first was I had a candy store in school. So what I did was it was this kid, me and him are still, well, he's not a kid, he's a grown man now. He's always like on the cutting edge of stuff, you know. And I watched him make all this money selling candy. And I remember we used to go over his house and he had this little microphone. It was like a doctor's thing. He used to be placing all his orders. So I watched how he did it. But I knew that I could just basically use the Walmart approach and just steamroll his business. So for like 6 months, I just watched how he was selling candy, watched how he was selling candy. So that next year, we were going into 10th grade. I was in ninth grade. He was probably in like 11th or 12th. I didn't have a car and at the time. I wasn't even old enough. So I asked my grandmom to take me to Costco's. And I had saved up my money all summer. I think I took like $1,000 to Costco's. And I bought all these big bags of like Swedish fish and stuff. I think at the time they were like $4.80. But what I did was I bought all that. I bought everything he didn't have. I had juices. I had Rice Krispie treats. I had everything that possible a kid want. Like I brought a candy store
Yeah.
to the school. So what I did was I knew that I couldn't serve everybody. I couldn't be everywhere. So I went to all the kids that I knew. I said, "Do y'all want to make some money?" So I'm spending $4.89, and my gross profit off of each bag is $25, right? And then there were little caveats like Snickers and stuff where I wouldn't make as much money, but all the candy that you could put in like sandwich bags, it was just infinite return. So what I did was I told all the kids, y'all want to make some money? They're like, yeah. I said, so I'm gonna give you a $500 bag of candy. I want $300 back. So I recruited the first day of school. I had about seven uh, sellers of my candy. I dropped them all $500 packs of candy, and I wanted $300 back. And then what I did was I made it even more interesting because I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and make breakfast sandwiches for all my workers, like about 10 to 15 of them, because I know it was cold outside. They had to sit in front of the bus stop. So at that point in life, we didn't have that much money. So I know everybody don't got food in the house. But what's going to happen when that kid's sitting there eating a breakfast sandwich, waiting for the bus? and the guy got candy, juices, and everything. So I would tell the worker when he got there to open up the sandwich so all the kids could smell it. So I was just raking in money. Like at least two kids were turning in $300 every day. So I'm like 14 at the time, bringing in, you know what I mean, $600 a day.
Man, at 14, that's crazy. Some people can't even do that now. You know, that's crazy. That's crazy. Now, um, I know I'm gonna dive into the book, but your life took a turn, right? Your life took a turn. And this is where because I know it was your mom, she had a stepdad, and he kind of opened you up to real estate and what was out there, right?
So here goes the thing. I didn't, unfortunately, my life is like backwards as far as growing up. You know how like most people had the rags to the riches story?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, my family, when I was born, we had money. So I got to experience the country clubs, the golf courses, the driving the foreign cars, the picking the cars out from overseas and they come over and their steering wheels on the other side. I got to experience that at a very early age. You know what I mean? My mother's father, he owned a business. He was in the streets. My father's father, which I don't really know, but he was one of the first black college professors he was the first black college professor in Chicago University. My mom had dated an entrepreneur when I was really young. His family took me in, and they were wealthy. So, him and my mom built a huge real estate business. So, since I was born, we had ample. Like it was, we were rich. Um, Probably around like 1990 or whatever, the crash happened in real estate. They were trying to build this real estate community. They lost everything. They broke up or whatever. So we went from living with a house with a lake behind it to smack dead in the hood, heat using the oven to warm the house.
Ooh.
So, times got different. But I understood business. My mom used to drop me off to her dad before he died, before school every morning. He ran this big gambling operation. So every morning at 4:30, I actually had to get dropped off to my grandfather, and he would feed me and then take me to all his gambling spots, and I would have to count all the money to all his gambling spots. So I knew about money. My stepdad, his father owned he owned a furniture business, and I learned how to make furniture. I learned how to sew. I was always around successful people, but then I was also around street people. So I got to understand both economic world, the business world, and then the illegal world, which is still business. But so I had a very different type of childhood. You
Did, did,
know, I,
did you see the illegal world where the money printed faster, or they were both successful businesses where they both printed as fast, but just one was, I don't know, easier than the other, or they were both.
I think in that time in the early '90s, late '80s, like the drug epidemic was just it was crazy. So it was like printed money. Like I think it was okay. So as a kid, you don't have all the resources and full comprehension to be able to build and scale a corporate business. What you can do is you can get some drugs from somebody and start building out a business without having to do all that. So if you walk outside your house and see people making thousands of dollars in a couple hours, I don't care who you are, what race you are, you're naturally going to gravitate towards that. And in that time frame, both of my maternal grandparents that had the money were dead. So it was like you went from being able to have any and everything you wanted to now it's discount everything lean cuisine meals when that wasn't my life. So it was like I think the pivotal point was, I always remember this. My mom took me to Foot Locker one day, and I'm used to getting whatever I want. So I picked these sneakers out. They were like $95. And I looked at her eyes and I told her I want them, but she said she wouldn't tell me no, but I seen in her eyes that she couldn't afford them. She wanted me to get some cheaper ones, so I was like, I don't want them. I don't want nothing. That's when after that I just went and got some work and just never looked back after that. It was like I'm gonna make sure my mom is fine. Like I don't ever want to see that look in her face again.
Got you, got you. And now, real quick, and I know your story. It's kind of we're trying to cover a good gap, right? And the
It's
10 years,
okay. Take your time. I'm not. I
the
clear some time. I don't have to catch a flight till 6 or 7 o'clock.
the can you talk about the 10 years in prison part? Like what caused that? And um yeah, what caused that?
What caused me to go to prison, or what led up to that?
Because I know you talked about gambling with your grandpa, and he kind of took you under his wing, so you could do. Was that a part of it, or
Nah, they got me for a RICO running drugs from Mexico to Philadelphia.
okay, okay, damn heavy. And they did they offered you more time, and you did less.
So what happened is I had caught a few cases, but I had great lawyers and were beating the cases. So it was me and my brother and a couple other people. Like my brother ended up getting 60 years. So we just were beating cases like we were young, we were kids, like real kids getting a lot of money. So we didn't even understand the full consequences of it. I just could remember back to my childhood of my family owning businesses and stuff. So even in that time period, I was buying property. I built a multi-million-dollar cleaning company. Um, I was 24 when I finally went to jail. So even in that time period, I was still trying to grow as a businessman, but I didn't have all the resources as far as information or the right mentors to show me, okay, this is how you do this. Like I remember I had started this company called A Plus Cleaning, and within the first literally 30 days of me opening up, I was already generating like 30, 40,000 hours. What I didn't understand was or know about sales tax. So I had made all this money and then I went to go file taxes that I didn't know nothing about. And I owed all this sales tax because I never charged the client sales tax. So that was a learning lesson. Like, oh my goodness, now I got to pay all this money. So I was always trying to become, build real fortune, big companies, but I just didn't have the education or the mentors to show me how to do it. But in the streets, it's like, okay, you don't need that. Like you got to know security, you got to know marketing, you got to know distribution, you got to know sales, you got to know import export, but you don't have to fill out paperwork to say you're qualified for that or that. It's all learning experience. Little did we know the things that we were doing would lead us to maybe never coming home again because we were young, immature kids that didn't understand that. All we understood we're making all this money, we're doing way better than 90% of grown people. We're taking care of our families, we're taking care of people that we used to look up to when we were kids, and we really thought that we were on top of the world. We didn't understand really what we were. I mean, we knew it was wrong, but we didn't understand really what we were getting ourselves into, or what the government had planned, or how this was going to fail.
So was your thought process kind of like, hey, you know what? I know this ain't right. I'm gonna run some plays. I'm being successful on this side, and hopefully could get a couple more bags. That way I can just go legit full throttle, or you just didn't know. You were kind of like
So
in go mode.
initially, it didn't even start out like that. We didn't even know what we were doing. You know what I mean? We were just like, okay, we want some sneakers, we want this, we want that. All right, we can go sell this and sell that. But we always just understood sales. So like if a company, like, all right, for instance, this neighborhood was selling this product for this price. Well, we would drop the price, like, and make less but sell way more. So we start taking their competitors. So it's always been like, even with the candy business, I sold way more for less to take people's customers. I always believe in over delivering and Like I had an Amazon approach, but Amazon wasn't existing yet, and I didn't even understand what I was doing. I was trying to be a wholesaler to the retailers. Like the individual customer, I was always a wholesaler. Even though I didn't know what I was doing, I just knew that if you provided more for what a person paid for, you would see a greater return and build customer service
Ooh, gotcha.
and customer loyalty.
Now, for people watching, in prison, were you exploring the mind? Were you reading stuff, or was it when you got out? That's when you started tapping in and like, hey man, I know this real estate
Now,
stuff.
so in prison, at first it was like,
Survival of the fittest.
I mean, prison ain't prison is what you make it. Did I see all types of stuff? Yeah. Did I have a few issues? Yeah. But it prison is about, if you mind your business and just go about your day and just you might have a few issues, but it's not like you just gotta run around and be like that stuff that happens on the movies, that's the movies. Like, do people have, does some of that stuff in the movies really happen? Yes, it does. Have I seen it? Yeah, but that wasn't what I really had going on. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of people know me. You know what I mean, it's like you gotta understand, if you're connected to a bunch of people and everybody's out there, it don't stop. So if somebody, like, that's for instance, like it's like in the army. If you're in prison, right, and this dude's on the streets and he does something to you in prison, well, you got a whole family on the street and whole friends that ain't going for that. So you might be in the jail by yourself, okay, but you got a whole team on the street, so you can only play but so far, because there's consequences and repercussions behind anything a person does.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like, okay, did I have a few incidents? Yeah, it was nothing major. Like, did I see other things that people have real situations? Did I see a couple people die? Yeah. Um, but that wasn't what I was on. I was really just in there just trying to like learn more and understand where I went wrong. Like I remember being next door neighbors with this guy from Pittsburgh, and we used to just sit and talk about the stock market. And then it was these two older guys. They were like, they had the one dude that got locked up in Hawaii and then owned all these properties and had all these paintings and stuff. I used to sit around with people like that and learn how to get more money and how to do this and how to do that. Plus, I was in the prison that they sent me to. My cousin was there and my uncle was there. It was like they all were in prison for so many years, never coming home. It was like I didn't really have those type of experiences.
Oh damn. Okay, so you looked out a little bit, but still, because you had family in there looking out for you.
I mean, it's like this. Everybody's the man at the end of the day. So it's like if you're not disrespecting people, if you're not, you know what I mean, weak or whatever, will you run into an issue? Of course. You're like, you gotta figure everybody that you watch on the news, right? That you be like, oh, that was a horrible thing. Oh, that's where they're at in prison. So every day is not going to be peach and cream, or every day is not going to be, you know what I mean? But at some days, prison was fun because you had no real responsibilities. On the streets, you got to worry about paying bills and doing this and doing that. You don't have to worry about that in jail. Would I want to go back? Absolutely not. But I had a chance to actually learn. I got a chance to see a lot of older men that really were successful in, you know what I mean, criminality, and they taught me stuff and they showed me how to be a better man, you know what I mean? There was a lot of different things I learned. I learned discipline. First of all, I learned how to be patient. I never had patience. But when they give you all this time and you have to sit there and count these calendar, you have to learn how to put your goals and how, all right, I'm on this year, I'm going to do this. Like, you basically base your calendar around the sports season. Like football season's down, okay, basketball season's down, so now the year is over. So you have to learn different coping mechanisms to deal with that. You got people in there committing suicide, all types of stuff. Every day was not good. Every day was not terrible. Like you have to put yourself in a mental, you have to take yourself out of there mentally and just visualize and study. Like I've read so many books. I start practicing yoga. I mean, I was just like I linked up with like-minded people. Like it was this one guy, he was in solitary confinement for 37 years. They would never let him out. He was my cellie when I went to the, I mean, not my cellie, he wasn't allowed to have a cellie. I was a Z code, you know. He was my next door neighbor. So I used to sit and talk to them. When I was in a regular population, I used to walk with some of the guys that knew my grandfather or knew somebody in my family. And they used to tell me about the old times and how this and that and how business works and how they were doing this. So I got a lot of learning experience. I learned how to play chess real good in there. I mean, I wouldn't want to trade all that stuff to go there. No, I could have learned that out here. But in any situation, no matter where you at, you have to take advantage of the pros. You
I
can't
think
just dwell on the cons.
I think we were talking about the whole military thing, and when I was
Mhm,
in Iraq, because I went to Iraq twice,
mhm,
it wasn't like I liked being there, but since I was there with my boys and there was no outside interference, like I didn't really have to worry about bills because my wife was getting direct deposits and everything was taken care of. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want to go back, but at the same time, it had some good days, it had some bad days, but it was an experience. And I'm glad I went through it. I needed it, to wake up. And even though each day my life was on the line because we didn't know who was shooting at us or who was freaking throwing seersuckers at us, it was something that, woke me up and made me appreciate, civilization or, coming back home. So definitely, like I said, man, from going to, prison 10 years and then change your life around, man, I feel like that's why I wanted to have you on the pod because I feel like you've done so much and you can relate every little piece from, like I said, riches to rags and then back, to your come up that you're doing right now. It's like, and you wrote a book, and it's like definitely people need to connect with you because there's other people out there that feel like, hey, I can't do it, or I failed too many times. They just need the right, connection or a blueprint, and that's why, we're gonna dive into the book real quick. I recommend everyone to cop that book. Where can someone get the book? I'm gonna put the link in the bio, but
You can
just
get it on Amazon. You can get it directly from our website. You can get it from Google Play. I mean, we're on our third book will be released pretty soon, probably in the next week or so. So we're dropping multiple books. Like the newest book out right now is The Landlord's Eviction Guide: How to Get Your Lick Back. So it basically breaks down the core steps of the eviction process. And this doesn't go state for state. Every law, I know these laws apply in Pennsylvania. So if a tenant owes you money for like a property, you can actually take them to court and get a judgment against them. And once you receive that judgment, now you have to follow the steps that's in the book, but you can actually garnish that person's wages and that person's bank account. So, like, I have tenants that haven't paid me rent, and every 2 weeks when they get paid, my company name is on their paycheck, like a child support or deduction, and the job automatically takes the money out, or the job will be fine. And then what we do is, like right now, income tax is about to come around. So we'll go get a court order for the tenant, and then we'll send that letter from the judge to all the banks in a 30-mile radius stating that these people owe money, and if this money comes in here, you have to send it to us. Like these are all outlined in the new book, how to get your lick back, the landlord's eviction guide.
so that
So
the first book, right?
that's the second book. How to rob the bank legally is to show people how to get into the real estate game. Like there's different there's different types of being involved in real estate. You can be an investor, you can be you can rent the properties, you can buy and rehab and sell. Like people that say they're in a real estate game and they're wholesalers, you're not a real estate investor. You have no blood stake, no money, no nothing. You're selling a contract. So, is that part of real estate? Absolutely. But you're not a real estate investor if you're wholesaling property. Because all you're doing is, say you own some houses. Let me sign you under contract for 60 days and go try to sell your property. What stake do you have if that property doesn't close or sell? Nothing. So how are you investing in real estate?
Gotcha. So let's dive into the book, guys, real quick. So definitely about to give you guys some sauce on the book. Um, your first property that you bought, it said it was it your grandma's house? That's the
Yeah,
one?
the first. So what had happened was the first property I had bought was my grandmom's house. I was 19. When I was younger, my grandfather had died. All the bills were paid off. So we went to Canada. And when we came, my grandmom had she had diabetes. So she started suffering from diabetic retinopathy while we were in Canada. So one of the best hospitals for eyes is called Will's Eyes in Philadelphia. So we had to move back to Philadelphia. When that was taking place, she had left the property to my uncle, and he never paid none of the taxes. So the taxes as accrued, the taxes that accrued. My grandmother was on a fixed income at that time because she was retired and she had diabetes, and it was like taking over her body. So even in high school, when I was selling the candy business and building other stuff, I was giving her like $400 a month to her tax bill since like, yeah, about 10th grade. And I was paying her car payment. So I remember her getting a knock on the door, and it was the sheriffs, and they were telling her that they were going to take her property. She had owed about $25,000 because it just kept backing up, backing up. He didn't pay none of the utilities, nothing. So I don't remember exactly how much money she was making like how much money she was getting on her fixed income, but it wasn't a lot. So they were about to take her property. So I just bought it. I had the money. I was about, I think it was like 18 and a half, 19. I just gave them the 25,000 so they wouldn't take the property. I moved my grandmother into a retirement community and paid for that because she was older and couldn't get around. And then I started the rehab of the property, which at the time I didn't really know anything about rehabbing property. So I got the local, handymen to go in there and do stuff. They messed the whole place up. That was the first time I rehabbed it. Then I went right back again and tried to rehab it. I remember it had oil heat, and the oil heat was like $2,100 to. I had to replace the furnace and the oil tank. The contractor didn't tell me if I'd have spent another 1,000, I could have had central air in the property at that time. So I got taken advantage of a lot on that first project.
This,
Um,
that,
so
this project was before you went right, to prison, right?
yeah, that was way before I went to prison. I
Before.
was like 19.
Gotcha.
After that, I bought a couple properties. I ended up getting locked up for some things. I sat in jail for a while, about 8, 9 months. Ended up beating this more serious charges. I came home and I started a cleaning business.
Gotcha.
And mhm.
I said, got you on that.
So I started a cleaning business. So for about 2 years, I was just solely running my cleaning business and built the cleaning business out to become a multi-million-dollar cleaning business. How I ended up getting back into the streets was I didn't understand what taxes were. So I was paying this big accounting firm that was basically taking advantage of me. I didn't know. I was paying like 15,000 a year to do my taxes. Um, so what ended up happening is I never, for that first year and a half, I made all that money. I didn't charge people sales tax. So I collected all this money and made it. But, you know, with the cleaning business, everything was done on a net 30, net 60, and net 90. And what that means is once you get done the work, you submit the invoice to the person, and depending on how you negotiate the contract, they have 30 days, 90 days, and 60 days to pay you. So a lot of the times, like I had this one big development company I was working with. I'm not going to say their name. They would have me doing all these big projects, like at big malls. Like, so when I was working with them, I had contracts from New York all the way down to Florida in these malls. So I had to front all this money because they might not pay me for 90 days. I had FedEx, I had Bank of America, I had Citibank, I had the Cold Stone Creamery franchise. I mean, I had 26 stores in the King of Prussia Mall. I had stores in Franklin Mills. I had stores in the Gallery. I had stores in the Dolphin Mall in Florida. Or was that, yeah, the Dolphin Mall in Florida. I had a lot of things going on, but I didn't understand about taxes. So I got hit with a huge tax bill. And so I decided to try to pay the tax bill by, you know what I mean, hustling. So to pay the back the sales tax, because I didn't know that's what I was supposed to be charging people.
Got you. Now, like you did, was that your first taste of business credit, or was that more because net 30s, net 60s, or
Yeah,
after?
that was my first taste of business credit. So I remember back then, Dun and Bradstreet used to call me, right? And they would be like, yeah, we can build your Duns profile or whatever. I think that back then it was like $295 or $300. I really didn't know what that was. So what I did was I had came up with a name and I went to the SBA, the Small Business Administration, and I spoke to one of their counselors. And how I came up with the name A Plus Cleaning was because he was explaining to me, this is before Google, like Google was about to come out. So he had explained to me, like in the phone books, the first thing that came up is A's, but there were already A such and such cleaning. But he said the numeric signs were first. So I said, hey, A plus cleaning, that comes going to be the first thing in the dictionary. So with that, excuse me, I said the dictionary in the phone book. So with that being the first thing in the dictionary, I was able to utilize that name and build out a strategic plan. So with that name popping up back then, the first thing that people were going to do is they're going to look at the top 5 names that come up in the phone book. That was the Yellow Pages, the Atlantic, Verizon, all those. So what I did was I paid for marketing ads. I think I was paying like $400 for one. Altogether, my marketing budget probably was like $2,500 back then just for phone book ads. I didn't have a website. I was a kid. I didn't even understand all these fools, but I knew how to sell stuff and I knew a little about marketing. So we start landing big contracts with development companies, with malls, with banks. We just start getting a lot of business.
Damn. So I mean, you got some history on the business side and marketing and stuff before all this kind of ramped up. So that's crazy. Now, in your book, I feel like you talked about a little bit, right? Step one.
Mm.
And step one is kind of, can you go over step one real quick for the users?
I mean, step one is you have to determine what type of real estate investor you want to be. There's many different types. So in order, first of all, in anything you do, you have to have a passion for it. If you have a passion for it, it's going to feel like it's not work. If you're just making money off of something, it's going to feel like a task, a job. So if you develop a passion for something, your work is going to be fun. You're still going to have stressful days. You're still going to have times where you feel like you can't do it, where you want to quit. But when you have a passion for it, it's going to drive you more. So you have to determine what type of real estate investor you want to be. My preferred method is buying a property, right? Looking at, before we purchase the property, looking at the market, how much the properties are going for in the area, seeing how much the rehab budget is going to cost, and how we can get that property within the number that we need to rehab it and then rent it out and make profit. Because a lot of people sell their properties and that works for them. If my personal opinion is, if I sell my property, then I have no more income.
Gotcha.
So if I sell my income, now I have to go and figure out how to make more income. So I like the buy and hold method because over a long period of time, these properties substantially increase. So I could just use a analogy, or I could talk about a property that I paid $30,000 for before I went to prison. That's worth 900,000. The cheapest house on that block right now is worth $900,000. I lost a few properties when I went to jail from people not paying the taxes, people trying to switch the stuff out, things of that nature. So I understand that. Number one, I understand inflation. And when you buy and sell, you got to worry about a 1031. And a 1031 is you have to sell the property. You have 90 days to let the government know that you intend to buy a new property for greater value than what you sold for. You have another 90 days to close on it. So you always constantly put yourself in a rush, or you have to pay the tax bill. But if I can find these gems and rehab them and bring them back to life and give people luxury living, maybe not in the most prominent neighborhood, but up and coming neighborhoods where people get a sense of, everybody wants to, downplay poverty or downplay the sense of people that don't make a lot of money. They're still human beings. They might want to do better, but they just don't know how. The first sense of giving a person hope is putting them in a property or a community where it looks like that they have a chance to succeed. A lot of landlords don't want to fix properties. They want to have people in sub-living conditions. I've always built my properties on places that I wouldn't do it as nice as my personal house, but I've always built my properties on if anything ever happened to me and I had to go live in one of my properties, I wouldn't have no problem living in one of my properties. So that is the stance that, I'll continue to build on, and we'll keep making it better and better as we go, as our team expands and we get better. And we're just going to keep making these properties better and better and better, because if I wouldn't live in the property, I don't want to build it.
Now, what demographic are you tackling? Like, are you Ohio? Are you Cleveland, Connecticut,
I
Philly?
mean, we tried the Cleveland market. I don't like it. They're outdated. I mean, we were just out there. We had a property. The contractors are still trying to build the property with knob and tube. So I'm telling the contractor, like, knob and tube is dangerous. Like, there's no ground. So I'm like, we're building a property to a property is a living, breathing organism. It has to last for substantial periods of time. It's just like a human being. You have to do maintenance. You're going to have to change the roof. You're going to have to do all types of things. So why would I build a property that's already outdated and out the code just because I can grandfather it in? That doesn't make sense with my business model. I'm not going to put somebody into something that doesn't have any grounding. And especially with all this technology, with everybody having smartphones, laptops, and everything of that nature, why would I build a property without a 220 amp service so it can support all the technology that people are having and be able to last and be able to sustain the test of time?
Nice, nice. So so you tried the Cleveland market, and then what market are you trying to tap into, or you're doing right now?
Right now, we're predominantly in Philly, so we have a few projects underway. We're waiting for the city permits to come back. California, and right now that's about it. We're going go international probably this year and try to tackle a few places just to get some vacation homes. So like when anybody in the team or whatever wants to travel, um we have a place that we actually can go and not have to pay for, and we'll rent that out. However, whether it be Airbnb, whether it be just set up with a local real estate agent for beachfront property, like we're looking into other options to cut down the cost and still be able to enjoy life.
Got you. Now, quick question regarding: do you tap in a lot into your business credit? Is that what um, like, you offer mentorship, right? Do
I
you?
offer a mentorship, but it's not really active. I'm not really into the mentorship at this point. Like I'm focused on building a better brand.
Got you.
Now, if the right students and stuff come along where we can mesh, then I'll take them on. I'd rather give people, sell them the books, give them tutorials, pay for one-on-ones than to get caught up in all that mentor stuff, because the reality is only 7% of people actually finish courses. So why would I really just try to charge people all this money for something that I know that they're not going to do or be able to comprehend? So if I find people that are interested and willing, I'll take them on and have my team and everyone build that up. But I'm not interested. Don't get me wrong. We need money to do whatever we need to do. I'm not being interested in just trying to take advantage of people just because they see that I can help them. I might not be the right one for them. So I would rather them purchase my books, get to understand me, see if I'm the right fit, see if what I'm trying to do actually works for them, and then go from there. Like, I could take on a bunch of people and promise them all this stuff, but that's not sustainable. And that's why we see all these people, oh, it's slow, it's bad out here. When you sell a bad product, um, of course it's not sustainable. It's like all these people that claim to be stock experts. When we're in a bull market and the stock market is up high, you can put a blindfold on and throw a dart at a bullseye and become an expert. It's only when the market is down and there's hard times you can see who really knew what they were talking about and who really knew what they were doing.
Right.
So now that the market is down, interest rates are up. People were like, right now, people are all, interest rates are sky high. When I first started investing, interest rates were at 7.5%. Like, I got a property that I rehabbed in 2000, I refinanced in 2006. The interest rate 7%. I never refinanced it because when we did the overall projections of the numbers, it didn't make sense to refinance the property unless we were taking money out to purchase another property, and we weren't doing that with that property. So you got to understand, when you go to refinance a property, there's points attached to it. There's all types of fees. So the mortgage wasn't high at all. So to go refinance a property on a mortgage that's nothing and a property that's producing tremendous cash flow, unless we were using that property to go purchase more property just to go get a lower interest rate, didn't make sense. So like, it's still at 7% right now. So that was normal. I mean, if you go back and look at mortgage rates over the last 50 years, you had mortgage rates that were 12, 13%. Like during COVID, that was a historic. Interest rates were never that low. So you had all these people getting involved or listening to people that half of these people don't even own no property. You know what I mean? They tell you, oh, I can do this, and you don't even own a property. So how can you explain for somebody else to buy a property when you don't own any property?
That's hard facts right there. Hey, real quick, if you can tell someone that's watching real quick, that just down on his luck or trying to get started, what would you recommend? Like, on some, like, hey, I know we gotta fix it before we fix this, but what would you recommend coming from you?
To be honest with you, I would tell them this: don't ever give up. Don't ever lose focus, no matter how hard it becomes, right? Because I felt down on my luck. When I first came home, I drove Uber for a few months. You know what I mean? That was a hell of an experience. I was 24 years old. I was a multi-millionaire, went to jail, came home and had to drive Uber. So for me to have to drive Uber, that was a humbling experience. As a young kid, you never thought that this would end, but it did. So there's always a better tomorrow. As long as you're waking up and you're constantly educating yourself and seeking, there's people that actually help. There's people that'll give you information. You just have to be willing and ready to take the information when they give you. And you got to be the jewels that people drop. You got to take advantage when they give them to you. And when people see that you're actually willing to learn and trying to better your life, people will help you. Everybody is not these horrible individuals, either though the news media or however, whoever is propaganda on social media want people to believe. Everybody is not like that. But you do have to show initiative. You do have to have the hunger. You do have to have the drive. There's no quick get rich quick schemes, even though I believe it's imperative to get rich quick, because the faster that you get rich, the more wealthier you are. Like if a person's making $100,000 a year at a job, right? And it takes them 10 years to make $1 million. If I can make $1 million in 1 year, I'm 9 times more wealthier than them, because I have 9 years now to enjoy the fruits of my labor. And if I want to spend time with my family, if I want to go to the beach, if I decide I just want to go on hiatus, if I decide I want to study, I can do that. Where it's taking them 9 more years, so I'm 9 more years wealthier. So wealth is determined by wealth is speed. So there is no get rich quick schemes, but you want to get rich quick as fast as you possibly can, so you can actually start to begin to enjoy your life.
Hey man, appreciate you. Real quick
I appreciate you.
before we get off real quick, and I know you've been tapped in a lot of business credit. You've dealt business with a lot of banks. Can you leave the viewers with some banks that are prone to giving you a bigger bag with proper credit structure that you might maybe, everyone has a different experience, but from your experience, is it Navy Fed? Is it Penn Fed? PNCU? What's a good bank do you think that you can have others check out with a good profile?
My profile is this. I believe, I'm just going to tell people straight up, I believe that people should actively and every single day work towards getting corporate credit. You have to start out from somewhere. DCU is giving out a lot of money right now. They're actually allowing you, I think, to do 5 pools, like Navy used to do, off of one hard inquiry. But where I sit today, would recommend that everyone eagerly and every day try to get corporate credit, because it's just a whole new ball game. First of all, your personal social security is not attached to it. Your business is. And if you want to be in real estate, the DSRC loan, where your LLC is responsible, not you. And we want to start playing and building and acting in everything we do like big Fortune 500 companies. We have to learn from people that have done it better than us, bigger, and their company has lasted generation after generation. So why would we just be focused on initially? In the intern, we have to, of course, build out business credit. But a lot of people run around and mistake business credit for corporate credit. It's two different things. Business credit, most of the stuff doesn't even report to your Paydex score or your Dun and Bradstreet. So all these people run around, I got an American Express business card. It doesn't report, and your social is attached to it. With American Express alone, you have to report $3 million in earnings to get corporate credit. You can get corporate leasing for your cars. We have to start learning how to play how the 1%ers play. And that's going to take time, because most people didn't come from, like, where is the people in our family that experienced this? So you're the first person to do it. So you're going to make mistakes. But I don't think everybody needs business credit. And why I say that is this: until whoever is getting you business credit, I personally think, that this is my personal opinion from watching what's going on, that before a person gets somebody hundreds of thousands of dollars, they need to go over that person and explain to them what they're actually getting themselves into. Help that person come up with a plan, first of all, to pay the funding money back that they're going to owe for funding. And then B, what are they going to do with the money that they got? Like, okay, you get $200,000 in funding. What is your plan? How do you plan on execute? Okay, they give you funding for 12 months, 0% interest, 18 months, 0% interest. Most people, what I've seen is the first thing they do is start buying vacations and going shopping. Or they try to get into real estate, right? And you have no real estate knowledge. Well, in 12 months, when them credit cards are not 0% interest and you didn't finish that project, or you owe this and you couldn't get out that you didn't finish, it just gets so wrapped up, and it becomes like predatory lending. And I think people everybody wants to say this person's a scammer and this person's a scammer. Nah, I think we all as entrepreneurs have to take a step back and really analyze our product and say, how can this better help our customer? Because everyone's so worried about getting somebody funding to make 10, 8%. That's really, do I like making that? Yes, but that's not my sole means. I actually want to help people, not put them in a way worse debt. Look at a lottery win. All you got to do is watch that thing on TLC or whatever it is, horror stories of the lottery. People get all this money and they don't know what to do with it, and they're broke in 2 or 3 years.
Oof. Yeah, man.
So I have just a different outlook on it. I think, does every business need money? Yes. Most minority businesses fail from lack of funding. So do I think it's imperative to get people funding? Absolutely. But I think it's also imperative to explain and fully make a person understand what they're actually getting themselves involved in before they take this money, or before you're just so people are so eager to get people all this funding with all these credit cards and they don't know what to do with it.
Hey, man. Thank you very much for dropping the sauce, people. Like I said, I'm gonna put all his information down. Tap it with him on Instagram. Black Wealth, Black Jew Wealth, Black Jew Wealth Coach. Get the book. Link's gonna be in the bio. And like I said, guys, tap in. Appreciate you, and see you guys on the next one.
I appreciate you.